on Facebook Live, so giving everyone a few minutes to come in. If you can please put yourself on mute, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you all so much for being here. Super honored to have all of these amazing participants and incredible candidates. This is the best part of the job, I'll tell you that. We will be getting started as people are trickling in. My husband, Ernest, is working on the stream as we speak, and I'm continuing to let in folks. Awesome. Thank you all so much. And welcome. So my name is Lee Perry. I am the new communications chair for the Democratic Environmental Caucus of Florida. And I am so honored to work with our incredible caucus at the state level in order to bring in some legislative education and be able to do a slew of fun events so that our members all across the state can really learn about the climate crisis and how it impacts the various districts around the state, and just be able to continue to do deeper education opportunities. I'm going to go ahead and mute those who are not on mute, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm so excited. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Awesome. Okay. So welcome to the Democratic Environmental Caucus of Florida's Climate Candidate Forum. And what this is it's an opportunity for us to have a deeper conversation with our endorsed candidates all across the state, thanking them for being environmental champions and for getting through the endorsement process, and getting to hear from each candidate a little bit about why they're running for office and what the most pressing environmental concerns are in their districts. So before we go forward, we definitely want to make sure that you all understand the mission of the Democratic Environmental Caucus, which is the ecosystems, the water bodies, and the animals and humans that all need to work together in order to preserve our future. And this comes down legislatively from Tallahassee, the federal government, and locally. And the caucus is really at the forefront of making sure that candidates and legislators are educated on the most pressing environmental concerns, so we can be the voice of those water bodies, those species, and those sensitive habitats that are currently the most at risk of the climate crisis. I kind of went through our mission. We don't have a ton of time, so I'm just going to fly through these slides. But yes, we are recruiting chapters. So we have all of these incredible candidates on the call right now. And I want you all to think about some awesome people you might be meeting on the campaign trail. And it would be fantastic if you see any of these chapters that we do not have in existence right now, and you're in that side of town, please send some climate advocates our way. We would love to start recruiting in these areas, and we really need to continue to open up chapters so that we have this type of education, candidate recruitment, and legislative debriefs all across the state. We also have a lot of leadership opportunities. We have various committees that at the state level that you're able to participate in. So again, you're a candidate, that's great. Thank you so much for running, but I'm sure you know a lot of environmentalists in your various districts that might want to join. Some of you that are watching and that signed up as a general attendee, please consider joining the team. We need a lot of capacity to continue to expand this good work that we're doing across the state. We have a new website, environmentalcaucus.com. Please check it out. We have an awesome legislative scorecard where we tally up all of the current legislators that have in the past couple legislative sessions have voted on climate policy. And you can literally see what bills that they voted for or against in our scorecard. And of course, our endorsed champions. So I'm going to go ahead and actually stop sharing my screen. And we have a special guest that's just going to take 2 minutes. His name is James Scott, and he's with the Sierra Club. James, I'm going to go ahead and let you share your screen.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let me present here. Let's see. Okay, can y'all see me?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is James Scott. I happen to be the chair of the Sierra Club Florida Executive Committee, but for the purpose of my presence today, I'm the campaign manager for No to Two. I've got 2 minutes to make this real fast. So this is the language that was presented in the legislature to create this amendment on the ballot. What actually got passed was here. You see some key language about the use of traditional methods and making hunting and fishing the preferred means of responsibly managing and controlling fish and wildlife. That is super key. It'll make killing the primary means of wildlife management. So really important. And the language around trespassing was deleted. So again, it would make killing the preferred method of wildlife management. It would allow traditional methods for hunting, which includes all sorts of cruel methods like trapping, the use of dogs. There's a lot of really awful things that could happen to our conservation and wildlife protections that would be opened up to challenge, and it'd be really hard to establish new ones. So this traditional methods piece is not what it looks like. And it would also, there's a lot of been issues in other states that have adopted amendments like this that have opened up private property issues of folks trespassing to hunt as a constitutional right. So it also threatens the private property rights. NRA since 2010 has gotten 12 states to pass the right to hunt with the high average approval rating of 79%.
James, I think you're not sharing the right screen. You might not be sharing we're only looking at the title card right now.
Well, my screen is showing
there we go.
Okay, so I'm just going to, you guys can see what I've got here. So forgive me, I was just scrolling on through, so I'm not sure what the discrepancy was there. So this is the original language. This is what passed. All right. Preferred method of wildlife management will be killing. Traditional methods like trapping. Private property rights implications. The NRA and the Koch industries, a lot of big corporate interests are behind this. So that's where this has kind of come from. Key methods for defeating it. We want to get on voter guides, including the Democratic parties, the Sierra Club, other organizations that do voter cards. This is our strategy is voter cards. 5 out of the 10 major papers like Orlando Sentinel and Tampa Bay Times, we want to get 5 out of the 10 to oppose this amendment. Getting other organizations on board to be opposed to Amendment 2, and targeting text and social media. So I think I've pretty much taken 2 minutes there. Just wanted to clarify that this is a political amendment, not a policy amendment. This is meant really to blunt the bleeding on the right for Amendment 4. This is a political tactic to turn out low information voters and to mislead Floridians into thinking that they're supporting the tradition of hunting and fishing in Florida. Those are already well protected under state law. Our campaign is not against hunting and fishing. We just don't want them to be the preferred means of management of wildlife and conservation in the state of Florida. So I appreciate my 2 minutes. Any questions you've got, please reach out to me. I'll drop my email in the chat, and please visit no2.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, James. I wanted to make sure we gave 2 minutes to James for this space because this is a kind of quiet, sneaky constitutional amendment that will be on our November ballot. So we want to make sure that as you're championing on the campaign trail, all of the amazing things that policies that you all want to achieve, we also have to educate voters about this really sneaky amendment that we want people to vote no and against in November. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right in and invite Congressional District 13 candidate Sabrina Busbar to speak. And this is going to be just 3 minutes to just introduce yourself, talk about environmental issues in your district, environmental policies you'd hope to champion. And we're just going to kind of breeze through these with the hope of having question opportunities at the end. And so thank you so much for being here. And the 3 minutes starts now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lee, for having me here today. Thanks to the Democratic Environmental Caucus of Florida for your endorsement, but also hosting this very informative event on a Saturday evening. So thank you to everyone who's taking their Saturday night to tune in and listen to this because it's so, so crucial. So I'm Sabrina Busbar. I was born and raised in Pinellas County, Florida. My parents came to this country about 34 years ago. My mother is from Colombia and my father is from Morocco. And from a young age, my parents taught me the importance of standing up for what you believe in and showing up for your community. This is what led me to pursue public service. I am a public servant, a preparedness and recovery expert, and an organizer who has seen what's possible when we come together to get things done. I recently worked in the administration for strategic preparedness and response at the Department of Health and Human Services, where we worked along with FEMA on natural disasters. For me, the environment is very personal and very close. I volunteered at Clearwater Marine Aquarium, got my master's in emergency management and natural disasters from Georgetown, and really learned about the critical issues that are facing our future as a country when it comes to the environment. And I tell everyone the climate crisis isn't coming. It's here. It's now. And we need to be ready to address the issues that are happening. It was an honor to work in the Biden-Harris administration where we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, one of the most great pieces of legislation for our climate. And I want to continue pushing that work. I'm sure many people on this call know about the Inflation Reduction Act, but it helped, accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles. It helped reduce pollution to the endangered, overburdened communities. It helped clean energy at home. It invested in clean energy jobs for Americans. And it really put us at a place to ensure that we have global clean energy economy and that we're the leaders of this climate, of addressing the climate crisis that's at hand. So is that the 3-minute mark? Okay, so I'll just say, for me, I'm very passionate about the climate crisis. I tell everyone about it. Please go to my website, sabrinaforflorida.com. I actually have a lot on it. And always feel free to reach out to the campaign and I'm happy to chat more. So thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to questions at the end of it all.
Thank you so much. And please feel free to drop all the information that you'd like in the chat as well. Awesome. Next, we're going to go to Manny Lopez, who's running for U.S. House of Representative District 17. Last call for Manny. All right.
I'm sorry there. My audio was off. Sorry.
Hi there.
Yeah, I am running for District 17 and thank the Environmental Caucus for endorsing me. We just had Tropical Storm Debbie go through, and overdevelopment is a big issue here that's causing environmental problems all around. District 17 represents Sarasota County. It also takes care of all of Charlotte County and northeastern Lee County. And we had over 500 residents in Sarasota that had to be rescued because of flood. Those are historic numbers. And the reason that's happening wasn't because of storm surge from the ocean. It came from storm drainage runoff systems that have been very antiquated and not working properly. Many homes got flooded again in areas that were out of the flood zone even. It's but these storm drainage runoffs were, creating problems for the estuaries, the habitats for wildlife. It's destroying the large habitats, the food sources, displacing wildlife, and spreading pollution, pesticides, and other pollutant things that come from the septic tanks that get flooded and all. And it's hurting our estuaries, and a big concern with the development here is that we do not have the infrastructure in place to take on all this infrastructure, all this development. And we're very concerned about our water supply. and it being contaminated and compromised greatly. So the overdevelopment is a major issue locally. The other big issue is the blue-green algae, and the sources for it coming here is Lake Okeechobee, which feeds the Caloosahatchee River, and then the tributaries and the water sources. There again, too, it destroys the estuaries and creates erosion problems. More so with the drainage creating floods, the erosion problems, but it also the Caloosahatchee and the runoff and the blue-green algae causes other problems along that area. Those are the two biggest areas that we're concerned with locally, but it springboards into wildlife management and the corruption and the deterioration of that habitat. So those are the big issues. I don't want to take all my 3 minutes. I lost a little bit trying to get on. So, but anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I'm looking forward to hear everybody else. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. Our next candidate is Sandy Kennedy with who's running for U.S. House of Representatives, Florida District 8. Sandy, are you on?
Hi, sorry about that. I was muted. Okay, hi everybody. I'm a native Floridian. I was born in Tyndall Air Force Base. I presently live in Brevard County, just a little bit north of Cocoa and right off the Indian River Lagoon. The Indian River Lagoon is a very big issue in District 8, which is Brevard County, Indian River County, and also a portion of Orange County is included. And so one of my big issues is going to be to address the overruling of Chevron. And that case is about 40 years old. And when I was studying environmental law back in law school, we discussed that case as being an issue back then, that it was allowing agencies to interpret their own authority to regulate certain areas that may not have been expressly stated in the statute. And since it's been overruled now, the first thing that needs to be done in Congress is, we need to get in and revise these statutory authorities to make sure that all the regulations that we are currently relying on for clean air, clean water, and plenty of other things as well. It's not just environmental statutes, but the statutes have got to be revised to make sure that what the agencies are doing is actually expressly authorized in the statute. And one thing that's very important about that right now is the regulation of power plants for emissions and particulates. We need to make sure that that authority is clarified in there, so that the EPA can regulate other agencies. And then, for example, another example would be Department of Transportation and Army Corps of Engineers, where they're doing stormwater drainage and stormwater runoff and drainage projects, and the water going into the lagoon. We need to have better interagency control of these things. So that's one thing that I'm really looking at. Another thing that is really important to District 8 is coordination with our industries and their effects on the Indian River Lagoon. It seems that sometimes some very simple coordination can be done, for example, with activities that the space industry or the port may be engaging in that are unnecessary and could be done a different way to reduce impacts. So that's one of the things I'm going to be very interested in looking at. We also, because we have Patrick Space Force Base here, we have PFAS issues left over historically from firefighting activities on the Air Force Base. And so that's another thing that I want to really make sure of, is protecting PFAS regulation and make sure that it's not written out. And then just a number of other things I'm really interested in, that if we could reduce methane at feedlots, which we probably don't have in Florida, it takes a lot of pressure off of everything else. It really would move the dial on helping us meet the emissions reductions and reducing our carbon footprint.
That's awesome. Thank
Thank you.
you. Did you want to do a closing? Just where can people find your stuff?
Yes, my website is sandykennedyforcongress.com. And you can find me there. And also I'm on Facebook at Sandy Kennedy for Congress. Both of those. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to remind folks, I'm going to be putting my little virtual hand up when you're right about at 10 seconds so that you can land the plane on remarks. We're going to go ahead and move on to Dr. Robert LaWayne Johnson, who's running for Florida House of Representatives, House District 46.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perry. I'm Dr. Arla Wayne Johnson. I'm a candidate for Florida House District 46. I wasn't always a doctor. In fact, I was born and raised on a plantation down in Mississippi. And a plantation, if you know, is a stretch of land where we were sharecroppers with the plantation owners. And in that theme of things, or parameter of things, we were concerned about clean energy, soil preservation, water contamination, stuff that would impact our crops down in Mississippi. And so that's what got me interested in that area. I went to law school, got a law degree, got a PhD, and decided to come and work for, number one, the federal government. I spent 34 years in the military, retired as an officer in the military, Army, and I spent 38 years in the federal service in foreign military sales. My main issues are the eradication of veterans' homelessness. Of course, I'm a veteran. The increase in affordable housing, the increase in teacher salary, protection of reproduction freedom. On the environmental side, the issue that's being discussed about split oak forest interests me. Now, split oak forest is a living conservatory, if you will, for the lack of a better word, or an area that's home to several endangered species, one being the Gulf tortoise, the other one being the Sherman fox, and the other one being the Florida squirrel jay. These animals have been living here for ages. This is their home. This is their sanctuary. We are in a debate with, we meaning the city of, or rather county of Osceola and Orange, are in debate with the Central Florida Expressway Authority to extend the expressway through these areas, thus disrupting these animals' home. They don't know like us, where we could pick up our luggage, get on a plane, and go somewhere else and get reacclimated. These animals were born here, they breed here, they come here every season. I mean, this is their home. And my interest is to ensure that it remains their home. Again, I'm Dr. Arla Wayne Johnson, candidate for Florida House District 46. You can get me at our county, our future.com, and I have a website. And you can also Google me at Dr. Arla Wayne Johnson, and you'll get me on my Facebook account and on my website. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That means so much because I run the Save Split Oak Forest campaign. So it's very good to hear that. Thank you for that plug. Next, we're going to move on to Carrie Silsack, who is running for Florida House District 54. Carl, excuse me. I can't read. Carl.
Busted Lee.
Yeah, I have a friend named Carrie who spells her name with an I. So I'm so used to seeing her name all day today. I talked to her like 10 times today. But Carl,
No
you're just
worries.
as great.
Thanks. I appreciate you as well. Hi, everyone. My name is Carl Cieslak. I am the Democratic candidate running for the Florida State House in District 54. District 54 is located just north of downtown Tampa. It encompasses Wesley Chapel, Dade Cities, Upper Hills, San Antonio, and St. Leo. So a very funny fact is I was reading this morning in the Tampa Bay Times, and one of the big issues is regarding water. Surprise, because the biggest thing hitting my district is overdevelopment. I can say I've lived in the area for about the last 10 years. And wow, I was just actually at the outlet mall, which wasn't there 8 years ago. And now there's like thousands and thousands of millions of square feet of retail around there. So that's definitely a thing that needs to be looked into. I'm running to help lower insurance costs because that's the number one thing on every Floridian's minds, auto and home. It's great to be in the top 10, but not for those two. And also to ensure that women have the right to manage their own bodies by themselves with their families and their doctors. Environmentally speaking, though, the last part of my platform has to do with financial security, and that piece there deals with climate. If we don't get that under control, we're going to continue to fail. And that's going to make the other item with the insurance continue to spiral out of control where we won't even be able to afford to live here anymore. So with that being said, the gentleman that I am running against is a co-sponsor of some wonderful bills that have basically rolled back local control of environmental policies. One most recently was last year, so his nephew could build a house with a nature preserve that had a bald eagle's nest. And that nest disappeared because they took the law and rolled it up to the state so the county could no longer regulate. So if I am to be elected, one of the things I definitely would do is start returning home control back to the communities. That is an important thing because the Republican legislature the last 10 years, who used to preach it, has been taking it bit by bit by bit by bit away from the communities that control it themselves. So that is one of the biggest things in my belief that we should return the power back to the people. So with that being said, I am going to leave some information about myself, but I was very proud to outraise my incumbent last month. So that was always a very nice thing by about $1,500. So I'm very appreciative for this opportunity. I'm a huge fan of environmental causes. Grew up in upstate New York, where when I was a teenager, we used to have like 3 trash cans of trash, and then it became 3 trash cans of recycling, and then just a little bitty weekly trash bag. So I'm a huge into recycling, of course. Reduce, reuse. I'm of that age of Captain Planet, so I am 45. So very much grew up with Captain Planet and how to save the planet. So I do appreciate that. To find out more about me, you will go to my website. It's www.cieslak, the number 4, change.com. And that's also where you find me on my socials, and most active on Twitter. I've got about almost 4,000 followers on Twitter for the campaign. So it's a great place. We got a lot of opportunities to sign up for virtual phone banking, and looking forward to continuing to support the cause.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Thomas Whitcop, who did not fill out what race you're running for, but I'm sure you're going to tell us. Thomas, if you're on, feel free to jump in. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Thanks so much. So we're going to move on to Issa White, who's running for U.S. Congress District 10.
Yes, thank you very, very much for the invite, and I appreciate the endorsement. One of the failures, I believe, with the environmentalist cause is that we haven't made our issue a human rights issue. We haven't developed the type of electricity that this is an issue between life and death. If this is not done, as according to our campaign, we don't have to worry about any other issues because we'll be dead. So this is a life and death situation. There are 2 major issues that's taking place in my district, which is District 10, primarily much of Orange County. And that is water pollutants and habitat destruction. Now, years ago, we used to say that, hey, when you go to Mexico, don't drink the water. Now they're saying that about us. In our water system, we have over 38 types of pollutants and viruses that is destroying our bodies. That means, and one of the major things that's destroying it, we have plastics in our water, all right, that we're drinking every day in various ways. Along with that, we have different types of chemicals. And in my district already, we have had 15 deaths over the last 2 years that has contributed directly to the water system. That's a big deal. And right now, very few of our candidates are really talking about this at the national level. We have to make this a priority. Another issue is habitat destruction, which aligns with deforestation. Since 1960, we have destroyed over 14 million acres of land in Florida. By how? One, by agriculture and by buildings. Are becoming more urban. That means that we have to find new ways to deal with agriculture. And secondly, we have to begin to change the narrative by looking at new ways of housing, reducing our housing, reducing the areas that we live in. I say it that we take on a European model. That's very, very important. Now, going back to water, I see that we have one person from Pinellas County. I don't know if we remember in 2021 of the Osmar water plant issue, whereby there was a hacking system saying that too much chemicals was being put in the water to make it clean. The question should come up, why is our water so dirty in the first place that we have to use chemicals, all right, to clean it up? Those things are very, very important. I've been part of this campaign for a long time. I worked with environmental issues in Brazil and Africa and throughout South America. If you want to learn more about me, go to drisaforcongress.com. drisaforcongress.com. I'm so happy to work with all of you. Victory is ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. I see one of our candidates that we had to skip come back. So Thomas Whitcock, you are running, we don't see in the form what race you're running for, but maybe you can share a little bit about yourself.
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Lee, for introducing me and putting this amazing group together. Yes, my name is Thomas Whitcock, and I'm running in Florida's 21st Congressional District. I'm actually just coming back from some canvassing right now. We were just running around, that's why I'm just like this, but we've been door knocking, organizing tons of people around waterways. That's the #1 issue in our district. It's protecting our St. Lucie estuary from toxic discharges from Lake Okeechobee. And as many of you are aware, climate change plays a critical role in all of our problems, including the toxic algae that we see in Lake Okeechobee. So I will be challenging Congressman Brian Mast to bring a sensible approach to not only local waterway issues, but also broader issues like climate solutions and other environmental problems as well. So I'm super grateful to be here with you all. And remember to follow Whitcock and vote for Whitcock if you're in my district. Whitcock for women, Whitcock for waterways, and Whitcock for a working democracy. Thanks again.
Oh, I love the catchy slogan. That is something we all need. Thank you so much. Next on the list, we're going to go ahead and introduce Peter Bronston, who's running for Congressional District 18. Going once, going twice. Now we're going to go to Amy Trask, who's running for House of Representatives, District 22.
Thank you so much. How do I follow Whitcock? Okay. My name is Amy Trask, and I am a Democratic candidate running for Florida State House District 22, which encompasses part of Alachua, Gilchrist, and Levy County. I, too, am ironically from Pinellas County originally, but I have lived in Alachua County for the last 8 years. I'm a mom, I'm an organizer, and I work for Harvard Safra Center for Ethics. So my background is in conflict resolution, de-escalation, and dialogues across difference. I was nationally recognized for my work in Washington, D.C., and I've already written a piece of legislation that would protect women's private health information and geolocation data within our femtech applications. I'm currently working with professionals to craft a bill that would help domestic violence survivors. I come from a long line of public servants that have given a lot to environmental policy, including a grandfather in the Florida Senate who championed lots of agricultural bills, and my three-time great aunt, May Man Jennings, who was considered the mother of forestry, and she's one of the reasons we have a forestry board here in Florida. She also co-founded the Florida chapter of the League of Women Voters. So I'm running because I was scared of the future that my children were inheriting. I'm running again on a platform of women's rights, education, home rule, and equality, but I think environmental issues is one of our most pressing concerns. I'm focusing on two things. Number one, I think, at least in where we are, equity and resources is huge and it's paramount. I want to invest in shared solar projects that would allow low-income communities to access clean energy and integrate solar panels into our building materials. So our shingles, our sidings, and our windows. Equity and accessibility are things that we need. And right now, all that we're seeing are our top earners being able to utilize solar initiatives and then collect rebates afterwards. And so I feel like if we want to mitigate climate change, then we need to do it as a group. We need to work together. The biggest issue that we're seeing in this district particularly is going to be Cedar Key. Cedar Key is struggling a lot after Adalia, but surge after Adalia, which left a third of their buildings with massive damage. There were also major losses to the local oyster and clam industries, which is a huge and vital part of their economy. They're experiencing rapid sea level rise, an increase in storm intensity, and warmer water, which is affecting our aquaculture. For a very long time, they were actually importing clams and oysters from Georgia, and then we weren't having our Cedar Key clams. And so that's huge. So I want to invest in infrastructure projects that would enhance their resiliency and help to mitigate these damages. I want to help support conservation and restoration of natural buffers. And because I have 10 seconds, I will just say you can find out more information about our campaign at voteamytrask.com or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/voteamytrask. At the end of the day, I just want to say the person who sits in this seat will either continue turning a blind eye or they'll be able to usher in a new era that has to come next. So thank you so much.
That was very impressive. Wow. Thank you so much. Next on our list, we're going to welcome Vernon Anderson, who is running for House of Representatives, District 33.
How you doing? Thank you all so much for having me here tonight, and thank you for your endorsement. My name is Vernon Anderson. I am running for State Rep District 33, which includes Palm Bay, Melbourne Beach, South Melbourne, and West Melbourne, and some small areas of Osceola County. I'm originally from the state of Texas, but I've lived in Florida for 12 years. And the reason I've lived in Florida for 12 years is twofold. I spent 22 years as an Air Force active duty member, spent a lot of time all over the world. What's important about that is I spent 13 years on the Red Horse team, building a lot of infrastructure overseas as well as domestically. I've been in the aerospace and defense industry for my entire life, my entire career. And Cindy Kennedy mentioned that about the development of aerospace in Brevard County. It's running high. One thing I want to mention is I've been married to my wife, Patrice, for 35 years, and we have 3 kids that are all college age, except for one. He's graduated and he works in DC now. I wish I could tell you guys the job he's doing, but I'm not. Anyway, the 3 areas I'd like to focus on in Brevard County in District 33 are all interconnected, but are often discussed as separate issues, which is the problem. It should be discussed as one issue. You know, it's almost like, buying a new pair of shoes with dirty socks on. That's the way they discuss issues here. My number one priority is going to be the Indian River Lagoon. It is my priority here when it comes to environmental and how we protect the Indian River Lagoon and the environment of District 33 through protecting that, the Indian River Lagoon. My second priority is infrastructure. We all know infrastructure is about capacity. You know, how do we protect the environment as our cities continue to grow? If you notice that when it comes to the environment and protecting it, growth is the silent killer of any environment. The more you grow, the more capacity you get in, let's say, in a balloon, eventually it's going to pop. And number three is, how do we protect our waterways here in District 33, our land and our ecosystem? And, you know, most people only, you know, most of the politicians here only discuss how do we protect our waterways. They'll talk about how do we protect our land, or they'll talk about how do we protect our ecosystem. You know, it takes discussing all three of them together. It also takes a variety of projects, which I've also been working on, and project types here in Brevard County, ranging from septic to sewer, oyster bed planning, dredging, as well as protecting mangroves in this area. I've been working on a lot of those committees here. See, I'm the person who wants to work to fix this environmental issue in our community. I'm not the one that wants to say, okay, we have a problem, or admire that we have a problem and nothing ever gets done about it. But the one cool part about me is I've been working with a lot of the different organizations here, you know, like the Indian River Lagoon, NEP, fishermen's, residents, and the Brevard County Save Our Indian River Lagoon Citizens Oversight Committee. This is where I get a lot of my knowledge from, along with researchers and universities, because being that I was an executive at L3 Harris, we built a tank 40 feet deep. So I had to be the environmental, basically, control of building that tank. And then the lagoon water quality problem didn't occur overnight. We know that. So it's not going to be fixed overnight, but it needs to be resolved, and it needs to not be ignored, not here in Brevard County, because this is one of the fastest growing districts in the state of Florida. But, you know, as you
Sorry to interject, but you're 20 seconds over.
Yeah.
Do you want to give people how they can contact you in closing remarks?
Yes, absolutely. You can reach me at www.andersoncampaign2024.com.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I appreciate you. So excited to share everyone's contact info with all of the attendees. So next we have two folks that I don't see if they're here, but we have Therese Gamble, who is running for Florida House District 14. Are you here? And also Alec Pastrada, who's running for Congressional District 7. If not, then we're going to move on to Tom Wells, who is running for Congressional District 3.
Howdy, I'm Tom Wells. I am running for District 3. I have a PhD in theoretical physics. I've been studying deeply climate science, and I want to report that what we see as success is an illusion, that what Ms. Kennedy referred to in the trampling of Chevron deference is only the top end, the new top end of the problem. The corruption in American government that has been created by the Supreme Court over the last 50 years means that everybody's lying to you. It starts with the UN, and the US actually starts with the US. When we see the successes of the Biden administration, they're illusionary. There has been great amounts of incentive money, but the incentives in a system of corruption, $8 billion has produced so far 8 charging stations, nothing else. We are reducing our our use of fossil fuels slightly, but our production is at world record levels in both LNG and oil, and 95% of it is by fracking, which is far filthier than any other way of producing energy. And I have a solution to that problem. But let's go back to the UN for a moment. Their modeling is deceptive because they demand that people use certain inputs, which they use an input for methane, which is the 100-year average of methane, which is a factor of 4 or 5 less than its present effects. and it's increasing every year, so it makes no sense. And they use an anodyne output metric, which is the average air temperature, which reflects only 1% of the absorbed energy. If you tell people that the total amount of energy that we generate is 1, and that the energy absorbed in the ocean each year is 150 times that, and it will continue at that level until we reduce the amount of CO2, and that carbon capture is not going to reduce it, that growing trees will, and we're cutting trees down to burn wood chips, which is insane because they have absorbed a lot of toxins, as well as being wet wood and a very much lower output energy. So what do? Well, it's very simple. We tax the hell out of fossil fuels, as many people have suggested, and that would be like a $400 per ton on CO2 equivalents. And we include it in the CO2 production, the methane and the nitrous oxide, and we measure those at the source so that we would immediately recognize that America's production is most dramatically problematic in the world, and it would disappear in weeks with a tax like that. And the tax uses market forces to drive home the problem, and it would make adapting energy very dramatically there. And yeah, I got a whole page. I've been four lines, and we have a solution, but the biggest problem we have goes back to the Supreme Court. If we do not take control of the Supreme Court, they will drive us into the apocalypse. And the only way to do that is to use the weakness they have just given to say, look, you have committed treason when you say that a president can overthrow the government. You're out of here, and your presidents go with you. The United States Constitution is a fine instrument and would allow us to address honestly the problems that we have in every sphere, but most problematically climate. I thank you.
Wow. I could listen to that all day.
Well, I got more.
Thank you, Tom.
I am
where can people find you?
Congress, TomWellsForCongress.com. And yeah, my number, and I will be in the chat because all these people I want to talk to. Thank you much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next, we have Ashley Brundage, who's running for Florida State House District 65.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here. Honored to have your endorsement. District 65 is in South Tampa, downtown Tampa, and then the water coastline of Hillsborough County, heading half of 3 major bridges that connect Tampa and St. Pete. And all of the animals and friends of us humans who live in those estuaries that combine our district in heading up to Northwest Hillsborough County, including West Chase and parts of Town and Country. I'm a mom of 2 kids, 2 teenagers. I grew up right here and born in Tampa, Florida, lived here my whole entire life. And I'm a huge advocate for all people around this earth. And you know what? I also did about 8 years worth of research as a best-selling award-winning author. I researched empowerment and I published a book called Empowering Differences. And you know, as people on this planet, we can't actually ever have empowerment if we don't have a planet. And you know what? It's honestly up to us to actually do things, to build relationships with people here as Democrats, but also with our independent party. In Hillsborough County, 31% of all the voters are NPA independent voters. And we have to make sure that we cultivate great relationships with them. And I hate to break it to you, but you know what? It's very expensive to reach independent voters because they don't get the slate card from Democratic organizations. And so we have to build relationships in the community. So I have more than 40 volunteers who are canvassing houses every single weekend in our campaign. We've knocked on hundreds of houses this week alone. In fact, I've already had, this is my 3rd outfit change, including the canvassing in the middle today. And then now here in this moment right now, I think it's really important that you all work together to elect Democrats that are going to be Democrats for all of Florida, not just for the Democratic Party, but for the independents, the NPAs, and even some of those Republicans that want to have a planet left at the end of the day. This is exactly why this is why empowerment exists. It's why I've built a relationship. It's why I'm an entrepreneur and I run a business and I cultivate relationships. I've done economic empowerment work for tourism bureaus and convention visitors bureaus. This is our biggest economic driver for Florida. And if we don't protect our environment, we won't have any tourism dollars to spare. Okay. And I can also tell you that in working to build people to come to the city of Tampa, I've actually sold out 2 major hotels. I brought a $13 million economic impact conference to Tampa right on the waterfront. And you know what? And if the waterfront isn't protected, then people are not going to want to book conferences and come into Tampa. So this is exactly important. And when we talk about the pocketbook piece to this and how it affects our #1 economic engine, this is how we win in talking about our climate and our entire planet and protecting it. When we talk about it and just talking about it, we have to make sure we talk about it in this way. And I've done a lot of stuff in this space, so I'm super honored. And you know what? My opponent in the general election is going to be the person who literally is the lowest scoring Republican out of all the state representatives, Karen Gonzalez Pittman. So we definitely have to all work together to get her out of this office. So you can find more about Ashley Brundage at ashleybrundage.com. And I've gone ahead and popped that right in the chat for you all. But it's super honored to be here. And anytime that you want to contact me, if anyone wants to phone me, 813-731-1302. You can phone me anytime you want. That's how transparent I am. And I think it's important for us all to do that and be very transparent in this process. So thank you so much for having me.
Be careful what you wish for because environmentalists do not go away.
I can handle it. I'm ready.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Next, we're going to invite Whitney Fox, who is running for Congressional District 13.
Thank you so much, Lee. And thank you everyone for being here tonight and for all of you for running. I know that this is not easy and I'm just so grateful for all the hard work that you're all putting in. Obviously, thank you so much to the Environmental Caucus for your endorsement and your support. I am running in Congressional District 13 against Anna Paulina Luna in one of the most competitive congressional races in the state of Florida. Now, I'm running in 13, which is most of Pinellas County. If you're familiar, just outside of Tampa Bay or just out on the other bridge of Tampa Bay. I grew up on the beaches here. We have over 41 beautiful miles of beaches on the Gulf Coast. I spent many sunsets on Clearwater Beach with my dad growing up, listening to live music while we watched the sunset. And I can't hear songs like Hotel California without thinking of those sunsets and those memories. And now I take my 2 little girls, my daughters, to those same beaches. But everyone knows that our beaches and our environment is in danger. I mean, we here in Pinellas County are a peninsula on a peninsula, and there are serious environmental issues that are getting worse due to climate change, as we're all familiar. And I feel like every year we collectively hold our breath during hurricane season as the storms get more severe and more frequent. How much damage will the next storm bring? And in my past, I was working for Visit St. Pete Clearwater during one of the worst red tide algae bloom outbreaks in years back in 2018. Some of you might remember this on the Gulf Coast. It lasted for months and it severely impacted our tourism and therefore our local economy. UF actually did a study this past year that found that Pinellas County, we lost $184 million due to that outbreak. We cannot afford a member of Congress who does not believe in climate change, like Anna Paulina Luna, or whose idea of motivating the Army Corps of Engineers to do beach renourishment is to threaten to defund them. So what I will be focusing on is a lot of mitigation. So every $1 we spend in mitigation saves us $6 in recovery costs. Like Ashley just mentioned, running in a red district, we are talking about how this is going to hit people's pocketbooks, but not just the environment, how important it is that we have an environment and a planet in the future, but how does it affect their day to day? And sometimes we have to think of who our audience is and what's going to resonate with them most. So I'm proud of the work I've done while working for our county's public transportation agency, bringing many federal grant dollars back to our district to purchase more electric buses as we build the infrastructure to charge our growing electric fleet. You know, Florida has the ability to be the leader in renewable energy, providing skilled jobs, economic growth, and lowering our energy costs. And we can help the United States achieve energy independence and rely less on foreign oil. But instead, we have members of Congress like Anna Paulina Luna, who recently invested $450,000 into her donor's natural gas and oil energy company while she sits on committees overseeing these policies. I'm so thrilled to be in this fight with all of you for our environment, for our community. Thank you so much for having me here today and for sharing all of your efforts as well. You can find out more at whitneyfoxforcongress.com. Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you. Wow. It's really hard to hear what some of your opponents, what kind of sneaky things they're up to. But we're so grateful to all of you for throwing your hat in the ring and running towards the fire to put it out. So appreciate that. Last but not least, we have Nathan Cupers, who's running for State House, Florida District 65.
Yeah, correct. Thanks. Yeah, that's Kuipers is the
Kuipers.
correct pronunciation.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. And thank you so much for the Environmental Caucus endorsement. It really is my privilege to be here. For the people who don't know, my background is primarily in education and with voter organization. And in 2016 and 2020, I led voter registration offices where we had over 30,000 people registered to participate in our democracy. Now, that might sound like it's a little bit disconnected from the environment, but it's not, because there's no mechanism in human reality to actually change and protect how we interact with the environment besides our state. Inside of Florida, we've actually been experiencing a lot of difficulty, correct? Where even when we experience legislative victories, our state government isn't responsive or isn't willing to do that. And in a lot of cases, that's related to the Republican supermajority and Republican governance. So how do we go about changing that? That means bringing in people who haven't been participating previously, right? In 2022, we saw a tremendous number of people who had shown up time and time again for Democratic candidates who stayed home. So in terms of making a change in our government, in order to actually make that happen, we need to make sure that we are activating Democrats on the largest scale. We need to make sure that we are defending democracy and making it easy for people to participate and vote. We need to make sure that our environmental activists are not opposed with countless barriers to participation, whether that comes to, voter registration or identity or any kind of level that happens on. So, again, in addition to my background as a teacher, I've also worked as a learning and development consultant. And in terms of making information digestible and getting people on board, I think I have an actual background of doing that. And making that happen for our environmental causes is something that's been important to me. It's something I work on every day of this campaign. Inside of the city of Tampa, which District 65, again, it is South Tampa and a portion of West Chase and Town and Country. This is a rapidly urbanizing environment that sits on a biologically unique biosphere. Forgive me for being a little bit repetitive with that. But we are facing a lot of really unique challenges and opportunities. And our state government, instead of giving us the opportunity to engage with those problems and develop unique solutions, they keep on putting in legislation that overrules locals, right? So this is part of the home rule piece that is very important, particularly for our urban environments in Florida, because our state government is not going to be responsive to these kind of ideas. We need to make sure that we're fighting for home rule. We need to make sure that we're fighting for voter participation. And that's how we're going to make a difference in terms of these environmental issues that keep getting ignored by our state government over and over again through these different avenues. So when I get to Tallahassee, I really look forward to working on that. To learn some more about me and the campaign, you can visit our website. That's going to be at nathanforfl65.com. I'm really proud to be endorsed by the caucus, and thank you again for the opportunity to be here. And I look forward to working together to make a difference in Florida.
So excited. Thank you so much. We actually do have someone that I did not see on our list. Congressional candidate for Florida District 27, Mike Davey for Congress.
Thank you, Lee. So my name is Mike Davey. I'm a Democrat. I'm running in Florida's 27th congressional district. Florida's 27th is in eastern and central Miami-Dade County. I live on Key Biscayne. I've been in elected office out here, including being the mayor for 12 years. So I've got a lot of experience with the environmental issues that we've been seeing across the state. All of you running for state house, I couldn't agree more. Preemption's been one of the biggest issues since the state preempted us from banning plastic bags back in the early 2000s. They've done everything they can to make it difficult for us to regulate ourselves. I'm really proud of what our community has done. We were one of the first communities in Miami-Dade to go from septic to sewer. We spent a lot of money making that happen. We've invested millions of dollars in our stormwater program, building up our resiliency and our sustainability. One of the things that I've been very proud to lead on is ensuring that we implement filtration. When you're doing stormwater, somebody mentioned runoff and how it kills the surrounding waterways. We sit in the middle of Biscayne Bay. And the fact is, if we don't protect Biscayne Bay, again, you all have said a lot of the stuff I'm going to say, so I'll use that. But the fact is, Biscayne Bay is our economic engine for Miami-Dade. It drives our economy. It's tourism, it's real estate. It's why people come to South Florida. It's the environment. And if we kill the bay, we kill our economy. And that's how I sell it to Republicans and independents. You know, they may not be tree huggers like us, but they understand that if their value of their home is zero, that's not good for their interests. Infrastructure money is how we're going to make this happen. We've got a waste treatment plant about one island up. It's a central waste treatment plant that needs $1.2 billion of renovations so that we can stop polluting Biscayne Bay and stop pumping partially treated wastewater out into the Atlantic Ocean. I've spearheaded a number of efforts. I've ticked off the past three governors proudly. Charlie Crist, when the BP disaster happened over in the Gulf of Mexico, and he came and told us on barrier islands, don't worry. And I pointed out, we worry. When you're living on a barrier island, you've got oil flowing down the coast. We want to hear more than don't worry. With Rick Scott, they were boring the tunnel for the Port of Miami, and he was having a photo op. But I just asked, what's in this boring material? Because you're putting that spoil on an island right next to me, and that's going to leach into our waters. What's in it? They couldn't answer the question, so they had to stop their photo op and their little ribbon cutting ceremony for a little while until they gave us the answers we wanted. I stood up to the Army Corps of Engineers when they were dredging government cut because I was concerned, as was Miami Waterkeepers and the Sierra Club, were really concerned about what the effect of the dredging was going to have on our corals. Because when you have the sediment kicked up into the water, it settles. And unfortunately, the concern of environmentalists was that it was going to wipe out corals. And unfortunately, although we weren't able to get them to do more, we saw 268 acres of corals lost. So we have to be more mindful, particularly at the federal level. We have to do more to bring money down to Florida for infrastructure work so that we're protecting the environment. And we have to make sure that we're not doing any more damage. Doctors do no harm, right? That's their first rule. That's what we have to do as a federal government. When we're doing work, we have to make sure that we're not doing damage to the environment. A few of you live inland, the Everglades and the Okeechobee, the algae blooms. We've got to do more. Big Sugar is owning the state of Florida, and it's not right. The federal government, not only do we pay them, to fix the water, but we don't do it. We don't charge them anything for it. We've got subsidies, and I'm sorry, I've run over my time, but there's so much to do. Again, Mike Davey, I'm really passionate about this. Thank you for the endorsement. We've got a lot of work to do on the environment. I'm going to continue to do it in Congress. MikeDaveyForCongress.com, and I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, and Jackie Kellogg is also here, by the way. Sorry, she's a neighbor and she's running for state 113.
Oh, well, Jackie, why don't you go ahead and take 3 minutes and let us know a little bit about yourself and your environmental platform.
Hi. Well, I'm registered for the next Zoom for candidates that don't have a primary.
Okay.
But as all of us, we all love to talk. So definitely. So I'm a big fan of Mike Davey, and I'm definitely inspired. And I can only add that I work for the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Biscayne Nature Center, and I'm a environmental educator there. And so I've also lived in Key Biscayne in Miami my entire life since 1975, and I've seen firsthand the changes from climate change and the climate crisis that we're experiencing now. So when I first registered for your application, I said to myself, I'm going to be the #1 environmental candidate. And now I see I do have a lot of competition.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, which is a great thing. Yeah. So I do look forward to speaking to you all on the 10th. And I did reach out to my new friend, Therese Gamble, and let her know that you had called her name. So
yes, absolutely. So actually the next event is going to be on October 5th. So I made sure to drop it in the chat, and I'm going to drop it again. We have a lot of incredible candidates, just like tonight, that are going to be speaking on that event. And as always, we want to equip our base and our members with everything they need to be a smart, educated voter who understands the consequences of bad policy and the desperate need for legislators who are going to have climate in the forefront of their platforms. So we will be taking the slides that we covered today, the contact information of all the candidates, and we will be sharing it to everyone who is in attendance tonight and across our entire statewide membership. And just in our last 3 minutes, we have Therese actually logging in right now. So I would love to give her an opportunity to speak. Therese, thank you so much for joining us. We are just about landing the plane, but I'd love to have you take 3 minutes to talk about you and your environmental platform. I've had a lot of opportunities to get to know you, so I'm very excited to hear you speak.
Thank you, everyone. I apologize for being late. I had just got news of a major endorsement from the Florida Asian American Pacific Caucus, so forgive my lateness. My environmental stance is that me being a granddaughter of a Black farmer is very important to me. And in my district, food deserts is really unheard of, but it do exist. And because of the lack of clean water and clean air in my district, it's hard for them to actually have community gardens and to grow food. So in order for that to happen, we need to clean up the environment in our district first. And that is one of the initiatives I'm working with. I'm also working with the local Duval Soil Conservation supervisor that we're drafting and coming up with legislation, not just on a local level, but on the state level to make sure that happens in the district. Because my current incumbent, she's against climate change. She's against anything that involves the environment. And that is where me and her are very much different. I believe in that. My mother had a garden in the district when I grew up. So I am not just a person who's talking about it. I've actually had to work it. She made sure all of us, me and my sisters and brothers, worked in her garden. And then when we would go home to the family home in Georgia to make sure we help out on the farm that still is existence that my grandfather had. So to each of the candidates, you may or may not have a green thumb, but you may want to check to see within your district, where are the food deserts and why a community garden doesn't exist, or either what is the reason why we don't have grocery stores in those districts. Because regardless of who they are, what level of social class they are in, everyone needs to have a right to have food. If they're paying taxes and if they're voting, they should have access to food. So that is my stance on the environmental, and I'm grateful for the endorsement from the DECF. And I hope and I look forward to working with each of you and all of you to help you in your communities as well. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you so much. Did you want to say where people can contact you and your website?
Sure, sure. My apologies. I can be reached 904-419-9585. And yes, I do answer the phone. You got some people they don't answer the phone. I do answer the phone, but I'm a text messenger, so I do respond to text. I'm also my website is voteforteresafl.com/about. I am on all social media platforms. And I do communicate on social media as well. So whatever way works for you, then I'm reachable. And then I'm on the WhatsApp group, so you can reach me on WhatsApp as well. So also I want to give a special shout out to Catherine and Miss Lauren. They have been very instrumental in helping me getting my virtual phone bank up, as well as giving a new facelift to my website. So I want to thank them so much for their hard work and their efforts. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, and my volunteers are enjoying doing the calls. And I'm utilizing all the caucuses and clubs that has endorsed me, their members. They are helping with phone banking and text messaging as well, which is a little nugget I want to share with all of you. So once you get the endorsements, ask them to help you with your phone banking and your text messaging efforts. Thank you, Lee.
You are very welcome. Yes, for the candidates who we don't only work with endorsed candidates, we work with various candidates across the state. I do office hours on Fridays, and Catherine, who was mentioned, who is likely on the call, also does support on Sundays. So please feel free to reach out to us. We will definitely connect with you. But this is a very exciting time to be a Democrat this year. And again, always so excited to promote those who want to keep the environmental issues and climate platforms in the forefront of their campaigning. Part of why I'm in the Democratic Environmental Caucus movement, I'm also the chapter president in Orange County. It's because I helped now Senator-elect Carlos Guillermo Smith, but at the time he was running for State House District 37 in 2022. And the environment wasn't brought up at all, a single place on the campaign trail. And that really frustrated me, which means we need to be responsible for creating that culture and having those tough questions that we ask candidates to hold them accountable, but then also follow up with a legislative scorecard, an endorsement process, candidate recruitment, and even soon we're hoping to really build out, if Judy's on the call, a candidate and legislator incubator to make sure that our legislative messaging and policies are really being, walked through with the various representatives so that they have all of the data and information. Because not everybody is just down the environmental lane. Maybe folks need a little training, a little polishing. So we hope to be a conduit of that. So please check out our website, environmentalcaucus.com. And thank you all so much for this really eye-opening and powerful event. We are going to have our next one October 5th at 7 p.m. So feel free to register for that. You can see it on our website and on our Mobilize. And again, just thank you so much. We'll be emailing everyone's contact information and the video and information on our next forum. So thank you. Have a wonderful evening.